Yeah, I'm going to kick her shortly.
He's attempting to connect to the audio.
Okay, so we are live.
What?
We are live on YouTube.
Okay, thank you. We'll wait here a moment, see if we can get Patricia connected.
Michelle Beamer.
Patricia, we see your name. If you click in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you should be able to speak. You just unmute it when you wish to. Hi, there you are. We see you. Can we hear you? No, you got to unmute your speakers. Down on the lower left hand. There you go.
There you
go. Okay.
Welcome to the meeting.
Why you shut my door?
In addition to the people you see on the screen, Patricia, we have John Fry on the phone. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. I mentioned in an email yesterday or the day before that I hope that you'll agree to accepting the agenda with flexibility because we do have a 2-hour time limit, and we want to be sure to get all the important stuff in. If you're agreeable with that, the order that I think we ought to go in is all the way down at the bottom of the agenda, the immediate issue of our operational status, issues we're facing, to include the recent concerns expressed by employees and management's response there too. Then I think secondly, we should go to the goals and objectives because that's something that Katie has to file with the state. I think third would probably be her financial report and librarian's report as a package. Then the policy updates under new business. Then the approval of the minutes and the chairman's comments announcements. Now, if you approve the agenda with flexibility and we don't get through everything, please look for an email from me probably tomorrow where we'll deal with loose ends as need be. And mostly it'll be informational, I think. So if there's no objection, we will accept the agenda with flexibility. Hearing no objection, we have accepted the agenda with flexibility. And let's now move to item number 1, which is, as it's stated on the agenda, thresholds and conditions for possible reversion to curbside service, which was the appropriate language at the time, but there's a whole lot more going on. And emails that I have sent you have attempted to give you a pretty good update on where we are, but we need to have Katie sort of put that in a nutshell for us and talk about where she thinks we are and where we need to go, where we need, as a group, need to head. As opposed to telling us where to go. But I think we're on pretty good terms with her, so it shouldn't be a problem. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, I think we, along with many other agencies in Virginia, were trying to figure out how to respond to the governor's issuing of these new Department of Labor and Industry emergency temporary standards, which put a lot of burdens on the employers for employee safety. When they initially came out, we were not sure if we were to respond to that, the library alone, or if it was going to be an overall county response.
Katie, hang on just a minute, because I'm hearing you on my phone too. And I'm not quite sure what to do to
turn your phone off.
John, can you still hear the discussion on my computer from where I put the phone? Go ahead, Katie. Continue talking. I want to make sure John can hear you.
Okay, no worries. It has now become clear that the county is going to respond to it at the county level. It will not be a departmental response that our agency will do. That being said, we are still responsible for doing the things required in the temporary emergency standard related to sanitation. We now have a lovely checklist up at my desk here of how many times a day each thing has to be cleaned, and a list of all of the cleaners that we have access to, what they can be used on, what protective equipment one needs to wear when using them, and the material safety data sheets for all of those cleaners. The branches do not yet have that, because I'm not sure what cleaners they have. We don't all necessarily have the same stuff. I think the other thing relevant to ours and whatnot is the release of the most recent round of the OCLC realm testing. This was a project where OCLC, and I do not remember what that stands for, something with Ohio. They hired a group called the Battelle Group, which is a really prominent research firm, to study how long COVID lives on common library materials. The first round of testing said it was dead on everything they tried after 3 days. The second round said, well, not so fast. It's 4 days for magazines and board books. The third round has now said it's 5 days for DVDs, plastic cases of varying kinds, and like the plastic tubs we use to move books. So we now have to increase the amount of time we quarantine everything to account for those test results. Many libraries have gone all the way to 7 days. We honestly don't have space to store 7 days. You can see behind Patricia the big gray bin. She's fixing to have 2 more of those that she has to try to stuff in her area. We're very short of space. With the Department of Labor document, we're all classed as medium risk employees, which had extra burdens above what you would have if you were in the lower risk categories as somebody teleworking or somebody in an office that wasn't open to the public would be. We did a branch manager's video chat and basically tried to see what threshold we thought we needed to have to go back to curbside other than the governor doing it, which is built into our plan. And we could not come to a consensus on what sort of number from the Department of Health would be the number. So we sort of left it as if any of the managers is feeling very, very uncomfortable or is getting a lot of that kind of input from their staff, then we are going to contact Dave to have him contact the rest of you and have a conversation about it. But that we would
Let me make a comment there. I'm also, for a group I'm involved with here at Lake of the Woods, I'm monitoring the local virus statistics, and that includes looking at the statistics for Orange County on a daily basis. So I think to some extent, I think you're implying this in terms of the senior staff. We may suddenly, without any specific criteria, come to a realization that, wow, this has gotten bad again. This has really taken a severe turn in the wrong direction. We might need to take action. So again, it might not be statistically based in terms of any criteria we can establish now, but we may just get to the point where it becomes apparent that the situation has changed, maybe dramatically. Okay, Katie. Tina?
I do have a question. The Commissioner of Revenue and the Treasurer's Office, who also interface with the public, and right offhand, I can't think of what other departments might, but those two definitely. How is that being managed? Although they're behind a counter, whereas the library patrons are roaming around. So I guess there's no other comparable department within the county framework
Not
to
really.
the library.
Parks
I
and
just wondered if you
Recreation,
had
maybe.
any kindred spirits in, kindred problems
Yeah,
in the county that, so who else, what other departments are classified as medium risk?
there were quite a few. The two that you mentioned, Parks and Recreation, I know were on the list. The childcare sites. I've only seen the draft version of the county's plan. They haven't approved it. It's up for vote on Tuesday. Um, so um, when that gets adopted, it will then be official. Um, I did do a survey of the public libraries around Virginia to see who was open and who wasn't. And at this point, we have 22 that are closed, and I think 3 that are just curbside only, and everyone else is open in some capacity. It might be half their normal hours. It might be 2 branches are open and 3 branches are closed, but they're open in some way. Just to try to take the, kind of see where everyone else was. We thought that it would be extremely helpful to us with the new standards going in and what they were mandating for cleaning if we could close a half an hour earlier each night, not send the staff home, but have them do the cleaning in that half hour at the end of the day. So when we come in the morning, we know everything is clean and we can roll. The Public Works Department is short on custodians. They are having extreme difficulty hiring custodians. They have open positions, they can't fill them. Sometimes they fill them and the people don't stay, or there are other issues. It would be lovely if they could handle all the cleaning for us, but realistically, that's not going to be the case. They have pretty much told us they can't. They don't have the personnel, and
Would there be, have you thought about like, having, well, only having part of the library open, like where the high touch points are, like the computers, just, not having those available. And I don't know, I'm just brainstorming. Or like having just one branch open, which I know throws just a quagmire for employee, all the scheduling and all that stuff. But
that's a fallback
which way do you?
position, I think, if we have any incidents where staff have come down with COVID, or we have a significant number of staff who are quarantined because of someone in their family has COVID. Maybe they don't have it, but they still can't come to work. Patricia's branch only has 5 employees. If 3 of them are out, we're probably not going to be open down there. If one of them is out, but they exposed 3 of the others because they all work together,
right.
in a small place, then,
Right.
That sort of thing. I contacted our new county administrator, Ted Voorhees, this week to ask him about the mask policy because it was of great concern to the staff. The original verbiage that we were given was that they were expected and appreciated, and that we were not allowed to deny access to anyone who did not have one.
Right.
The governor did then come back and make a more, forceful thing, saying businesses could say no mask, no service. So we are now empowered to do that, with the caveat that we are clear to offer the customers if we're turning them away because they don't have a mask, and we have offered to provide them one and they do not wish to use it. that we are offering then to provide them the curbside service so that they still can have library service if they do not wish to wear a mask. So that's kind of where that is standing now.
Well, and also you can call the local law enforcement if, you know, someone gets really recalcitrant.
Yeah,
Which-
the original executive order said not to contact law enforcement. That has also changed. I have
Yeah.
spoken to Sheriff Amos. He has said he will back us up if we need to contact them about asking someone to leave due to not wearing a mask and they refuse to leave. At
And-
my
yeah.
location, we've had, I think, 2 people so far total that just wouldn't put one on. But each location's different.
And that's a good statistic. It's a tough position to put you and all of our other employees in, but I don't think it's unreasonable to ask people to put a mask on, to leave if they're not going to put one on, and to say we've been told that we need to contact the authorities if you won't leave the building, if you're not going to wear a mask. It's hard for employees to do, but it's also a way of getting community to hold the community accountable. Also, I can imagine a scenario where maybe in conjunction with other problems like a spike in cases, maybe a couple employees at a library getting COVID symptoms, ugly situations with people who won't put on masks and are made to leave, that we just say it's too hard. This is getting too hard to keep the libraries open and run an efficient and reasonably comfortable operation. I've had that thought.
It may get there.
Can
Stay
I
tuned.
say something really quick?
Sure.
We have all the branches have taken steps to remove all of the high touch things, to close off seating and remove it. We only have 3 public computers in operation, so we're taking all the precautions we can think of. But it's just not always possible to go out and sanitize everything that people might have touched when they're browsing through the stacks.
Right.
Right. And I want to point out procedurally that Don Landry has joined the meeting. Hello, Don. And when you need to speak, be sure you unmute your microphone in the lower left portion of your screen. We don't see you right now, and we can't hear you because your microphone is muted, but it would be nice if you could unmute it so we can confirm that you can see us and hear us. There you go. Yes, I hear you and I see you.
Okay, well, this thing suddenly decided it was going to go into update mode by Microsoft before when I started it up.
Okay,
That's the reason for the delay here.
glad you could join us.
Yeah,
Now we're going to have Katie continue with her presentation on the current operational situation.
Yeah, good. Go for it.
Yeah. The cleaners are still a problem. We did get provided a cleaner which was effective to kill COVID in a minute or less, did not require rinsing or protective gear to use, but we got enough to last basically a week, and now we're out and waiting for it to come in on back order again. I think it's going to be a struggle. My custodian in this building here this morning told me that they are so out of anything at the county level to clean with that they've been told to just use soapy water.
Well,
Soapy water's for soil, not for sanitizing.
yeah, they're like, okay.
Department of Labor standards do say you need an EPA list end product, and those are very, very difficult to get. So it is possible.
Yeah, well, I can see why you need to use something, but I don't think soapy water is the answer.
Katie, I can't hear you now.
Me? Oh, geez.
Katie,
Oh,
Again,
Can't see you or hear you.
back, can we hear you?
we'll see.
Yeah, we hear you. I hear you.
I don't know. I'm just gonna have to continue.
Now we can't hear you.
yeah, you're on again, off again is what it amounts to. You go for about one sentence and then bang, the next sentence is off and then you're back on.
No,
Probably couldn't
No.
even hear me say that.
an alternative is you could call me and I could merge your call with John's. And you could both be on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
It should, it worked fine
Sure.
when we've done our department head meetings, to be honest.
Now you're on.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Anyway. So we would like to close earlier to clean at night, and we would like to add some additional curbside hours Monday afternoons, so that if we do need to deny service to anyone because of the mask issue, we will then have curbside Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So it's at least pretty regular and more accessible than only having it Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So
Right.
So that was the gist of the memo yesterday, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Far as the other, if it gets critical that we can't get the cleaners that the standards require we will let you know. Because
Yeah, you're
So
sort
let
of
me
at
be-
their mercy.
let me be clear. We can continue with the cleaners that we have, right?
for now, I mean, if we run out, I'll let you know.
That's-
But it wasn't the other issue, the caustic nature to
Yes.
certain employees or, but
Yeah.
but you've got the proper PPE for people to use the chemicals?
I think, yes, we now have nitrile gloves instead of vinyl. Every employee has been issued a face shield. Every employee has been issued ANSI approved safety glasses that are allowable for use with chemicals. So everyone has those things now.
Okay.
Um,
Has everyone been trained in the proper use of the chemicals with the PPE? I wonder if that would maybe at least to the branch managers so that it could flow down. I know, and I'm saying this because we used to do for pesticide training, we used to always, do PPE for farmers and farm workers because they were applying pesticides and anyways. So I'm just curious, maybe Public Works or somebody could do a Zoom training, just to reinforce the use of this stuff and what
certainly
chemicals
ask for one.
And maybe there's an employee that is doing this robustly that would be willing to share good practices.
Yeah, I've definitely distributed the CDC handout on how to properly put on and take off the gloves, but we've, 1 week we had one kind of cleaner, the next week we had another one, the next week we got something else. It's been a little difficult to keep up with, but I do now have a document that includes everything we've been issued here. I need to check with Patricia if she has anything different down there.
No, I
it's just-
assume that the.
So
this is
how's it
applying-
working out with you, Patricia? The cleaning? I mean,
We have one person from Public Works who comes in every day and will clean the bathrooms. No one from Public Works who comes in ever wears a mask. we all try to sanitize everything before and after it's used, so we won't spread it to each other. But a lot of times we'll get busy and then the delivery comes in and it's hard to keep track of what you've touched and what you haven't. Just the sheer volume of stuff.
Mhm.
And I think we're back down to using the pink stuff, and we've got a big tub of wipes that we can use.
The
Yeah,
big
that's what
stuff,
we have
it doesn't
now.
have a more formal name for it.
I'm sure it does, but I don't know what it is.
HDQ
Oh, okay.
neutral.
Fair enough.
I know.
So, so is there any way that, that, you know, it sounds like it's a timing issue, and I know you can't control the public, but like the delivery, I don't know, I'm just trying to brainstorm to, ways that, you know, is there anything you could have somebody available that would just deal with the delivery?
We don't have the space to do that. We check in the delivery at the circ desk, so.
Right, right.
We do have a time window stipulated in our contract with the delivery vendor, but it is like a 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. that they start it. And, you know, each branch has scheduled extra employees to try to bracket that time to
Mhm.
handle the,
But we're so small, if I schedule too many people, there are too many of us in a small area.
Right,
which
right,
is as much of a problem as not having enough.
right. Yeah, yeah, you're tight there, and
And we are too behind our counter. You know,
Now, is it safe to assume that we're talking about all of the library branches, not just the main one?
Yes,
Yeah,
my branch
okay.
is completely separate from Maine.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
talking about all three.
yeah, Michelle unfortunately had a medical appointment, so she wasn't able to be on this
Okay. Yeah.
meeting to
So,
represent.
Katie, as
Wilderness.
far as the operational status and changes you would like to make, you suggested closing a half hour early each day and adding curbside on Monday. Is there anything else you would like from the board today regarding moving forward with the day-to-day operation?
I don't think so. Most of the other concerns are, you know, it's county and public worksy sort of stuff.
Right, right.
You
Well,
do
why
need
don't-
to be aware that it's going on.
I've got a
Well-
question
well-
real quick.
Yeah.
Is the bathroom just for library employees, or who is the bathroom? Who uses the bathroom?
Every location has 2 restrooms. Well, Orange actually has 4, but Gordonsville has a single staff bathroom that's a unisex and 2 public bathrooms. Wilderness has the same thing.
So who, like the whole public can come in and use your bathroom? Is it also people like from upstairs with the election, or I mean, or is it just patrons to the library can come in and use your restroom?
Honestly, any random person off the street could come in and use the restroom,
Public,
the public one.
Well,
not
can't you
upstairs.
Can't you,
make it not a public restroom during this and make them, I don't know, there are lots of stores that I go to that, or I used to, but I mean, they never had a public restroom available. So would that be a possibility, especially with all these horrific cleaning issues that you're kind of tackling?
Yeah, it brings
We are-
up the additional question basically of how do you keep track of these things? In other words, will the librarian in charge, will somebody in charge ever know that they use the public restroom?
Here or
Gordon-
not, you can't see it.
Well, I mean, are they all accessible so they can be seen? I guess that's what I'm asking.
No, not from our service desks. Because
It doesn't,
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't
That's
seem
by the
right, like you
conference
should have to clean that when
we are
anyone,
not cleaning the public restrooms. We are cleaning the staff ones.
just the staff one, then is what we're talking about with that.
Yeah, we can't clean the public ones.
Right, okay, good. I was confused. I'm sorry. I just
So-
wanted to, yeah.
No,
so
it
the
just-
public works guy, he cleans the staff bathrooms?
No, he
And-
tries to clean the public bathrooms because our regular custodian has not been cleaning them or the staff bathroom. He empties the
Well,
trash.
like, I mean, I mentioned this a couple meetings ago. I don't, why do the public restrooms have to be available and open? Because if you go into the county office building, I don't think there's a public restroom, is there?
There's one across from the Board of Supervisors meeting room
Oh, okay.
on the basement level. My
Okay,
understanding
but
is
not-
that if we are open, we have to provide them.
Who says?
I
Under
think
this-
it's the Department of Health thing. I don't know.
Okay, because you, if you go to other public facilities, the bathrooms are closed. Like at
Right
parks.
now, I think she's saying that the trustees are requiring the bathrooms to be closed unless
I don't know.
used by anybody but any themselves.
I think it's outside our
Right.
purview. I think we need to focus on the things we can control. And
That's true.
specifically now, and I'm starting to look at the clock.
Sorry.
Getting Katie what she needs to control the things she can control. So I'd like to entertain a motion that we amend the operating format that we've already approved to allow each library to close a half hour early every day for cleaning and add curbside service on Mondays. Would anybody like to make that motion?
Yeah,
so moved.
phone call, whatever.
Don made a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
John Fry, who's still with us, is seconded it. Yeah, and now we can have additional discussion. Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of supporting the motion as stated, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. And I would like the minutes to show that the motion passed unanimously. Any additional clarification or thoughts on that, Katie? Does that pretty well give you what you need?
Yes, and we will keep you posted as to how conditions are going.
Right. This is a good opportunity to encourage the trustees to try to check email on a daily basis or email for things that I send you, which often are attempt to keep you up to date on how things are changing in the library, which may lead to decisions that we'll have to make in short order, maybe in an emergency meeting. So the more you're up on what's going on, the quicker we can make those decisions. And now, Katie, I think this would be a good time for you to comment a bit about what I sent to the trustees yesterday, which was, or the day before, which was the list of employee concerns and management's response to them. Is there anything you want to add at this point about that, or tell us where we are with that? Have you heard back from any employees?
I do not know which employee or employees that originated from. I have spoken to the folks here as they were coming on shift to make sure they saw the document and the response, and if they asked them if they had additional questions. A couple of them did, so we got those answered for them.
Has that information now gone out to the other two branches?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Does any trustee have anything he or she would like to say about that matter? I would like to add.
I think your responses, Katie, were excellent, and you addressed all the points. Whether they're to the staff satisfaction or not, that you'll know that in due time. But I think you did a great job on explanation, rationale, etc. And I commend you for getting this together. I mean, your response was very prompt.
That's important.
Yes.
Yeah, that's essentially what I was going to say. And I also want to add and I've said this to Katie before, and I mentioned to Patricia when I visited Gordonsville a few weeks ago. I continue to be heartened and impressed by the communication among the senior staff and their ability to make rational and reasonable decisions about making changes where necessary and keeping the operation going. You guys are doing a really fine job in that regard. So I suppose we can now move to what I suggested be item number 2, which is the goals and objectives, which are in the packet that Katie sent you. If you read through them, and if you can at least recall the package from last year, there's a lot of similarities, but especially under the objectives, there's some new emphases. Katie, why don't you say what you'd like to say about them, and then I'll go to the trustees with any questions they have. I have a few, nothing serious. Go ahead, Katie.
We did modify a few things due to our current COVID situation. It is obvious, based on how it's progressed so far, that any numbers attached to checkout of items, for example, were not going to be a good metric to use right now, because not everyone is comfortable coming back to the library, because it's, we share things, and that therefore means multiple people are touching them. So we have shifted over priority both in purchasing of items and in some of our metrics to our digital collections. That also allows us to continue to collect the metrics should we have to revert to curbside or other service, should there be, a outbreak or something locally. We all worked together on these, and everybody was in agreement on them.
Well, okay.
Were there any further questions that came up as a result of this employee request or whatever? In other words, was there stuff added, deleted?
They requested a document detailing information about the cleaners, which I did create.
Right, but nothing since then on that regard.
The document that you were sent in the packet has not changed, and it was issued before the employee concerns were brought to Katie's attention. Katie, under the first goal, second page, training, down at the very bottom, says staff will attend the major library conference, blah, 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 once every 3 years. Everybody? All employees?
Full-time.
Full-time. Okay.
But we do have all of the part-time staff have to do at least one webinar a year. Normally that's in addition to our staff training day. This year we probably won't have one because we can't shoehorn 25 of us in a small room together right now.
Or under the TV screen.
And the county is going to provide a web-based COVID training for all of the staff, including the part-time folks, fairly shortly.
Okay. Katie, under goal 2, activities, the bottom of that page, the first page for goal 2. Policy, the library will work with the county. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means? What's work with mean?
Budgeting. They budget our revenue. So we're keeping them apprised and in the loop that revenue from that sector is not going to be coming in.
Okay.
it's hard to see the impact of that. We went fine free in April, but we were fine free because of COVID. So we've only resumed charging fines 5 days ago.
When do you have to submit this package?
It is technically due August 1st, but because our board meetings are never in sync with that, we just turn it in when it's approved.
Okay.
On goal 4, the materials available in a variety of formats. I see you're going to do to-go programming. Is that that'll be like what was on the counter in Gordonsville? If you want to do this activity, you take your packet home and do it.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
And we're doing kids ones also.
Have they been popular? Was that popular, Patricia?
We got a better turnout with our take and make crafts than we got with actual in-person programs.
About the,
We had 20 take and make bags for August. They're all gone.
Mine were gone in 5 days.
So is there a feedback loop? Because you guys, you put energy into thinking up the topics, creating the bags, putting the bags together. Is there any kind of, feedback loop, evaluation, follow-up once they go out the door?
No, not currently. I'm not sure.
I
how
was
that
just
would
thinking
work.
that this is a way to, if it's real popular, you might want to, figure out something. I'm always to get information back, especially if it's going to be an expenditure of staff, energy, resources, etc. And they're
Stick a
popular.
survey in the bag. We didn't, but we could.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there as something to think about, since you're going to be doing 6 of these and maybe making more than 20 just for Gordonsville, if they are popular.
That was
I'd be,
how many we did for our live in-person programs, and our budget was based on that quantity because it was based on the live in-person programs.
yeah.
We may get a little bit of additional money from the CARES Act to add 3 additional bags in addition to these. We'll find out soon. And I do think that how quickly they disappear is feedback of a sort.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would like, what's the purpose of them? And,
Well, basically to replicate what we would have done in person if we could have done it.
Right.
Without sitting in front of a video camera and putting the glue on.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah. Okay.
Katie, goal 5, the second page of goal 5 under marketing. If you, clarify the line, create a digital brochure for new cards for the library's website. Does that mean how one gets a library card?
Yeah, we have some information on the website about that, certainly. Our WordPress site is somewhat limited in what we're able to do. Oh, what's your kitty's name?
MJ. I knew it. He usually comes around eventually.
But I would like to have something that they could maybe download as a PDF that would look like the physical brochure we pass out when they come in. To have something a little more attractive, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about the proposed goals and objectives for FY21? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve them so Katie can submit them.
I move we approve the goals as stated in the packet.
Tina moved,
For-
second.
I'll second it.
Beth seconds.
Uh-huh.
Further discussion? I think it's a pretty robust package. It's definitely
Yeah.
excuse the cliches, but it's forward leaning in terms of the new materials direction that libraries are heading in my opinion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the goals and objectives for FY 2021, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion passes. Okay, Katie, we're going to move to your financial report and librarian's report. I would ask on the financial report that you just highlight things that you think, anything that's glaring that jumps out. I didn't really catch anything myself. Also, in terms of the librarian's report, please be sure to comment on the progress you've made with the school system.
I have a copy of the library, then your report, Katie.
I'm sorry, did you say you didn't have one?
No, it's not in my packet.
Okay. I'm not sure if I gave that to Andrew, so I don't know if he can pick it up.
It's all right, I'll listen.
It immediately followed the financial stuff.
You have a lot of financials this time because you have the close of fiscal 20 as well as the open of fiscal 21. So there are two sets of them, which is why they are so copious. I felt like we did really well at expending the fiscal 20 funds, with the exception of part-time salary funds. The county moved all of the expenses for our part-time employees' hours from March until June for any time they were at home and being paid on administrative COVID leave. They all got moved to a central COVID line item in the county's budget, which left us with a lot of salary money left. There is a county policy that does not allow us to recoup unused salary. It rolls back into the county general fund. But I felt like other than that, we did a very good job of using the funds we had available to us. Fiscal 21, we were asked to be conservative in spending as changes might need to be made due to reduced revenue happening from COVID. We have filed all of our normal July 1 purchase orders with the county. So we have a lot of significant encumbrances that have been made, such as all of our books for Baker and Taylor, all of our IT maintenance with TLC. They're weed whacking outside my window. It's distracting. I don't think there's too much more I feel that there is to say about those. It's pretty routine stuff.
I have one question. This is for the 2020 data.
Mhm.
Each of the three libraries shows a fairly significant overage for holiday wages. Can you talk about that? Why those numbers are as high as they are?
Finance has different finance directors over the time I've worked here have had different ways they wanted that dealt with, but the current one is okay for us to leave it negative as long as there's money in the non-holiday one that will offset that. The holiday hours are when we pay staff to come in and empty the book drop when we're closed. That's what that's for.
Okay.
It's generally on a volunteer basis, and you know, I think Orange has the largest budget, and it's about $600. So
Okay. So that really had, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
if they had
your
wanted me
librarians.
to, I could have done a transfer and cleaned it up, but they said I didn't need to.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Yeah. The bottom line is that we at least break even.
Pretty
We
much.
did. Okay, we'll move to your librarian's report.
We have had some staffing changes. Lana Grant left down at Gordonsville, and Patricia has hired a new lady named Emily Balderson, who I have not yet met. At Wilderness Branch, Margaret Merriman, who was also briefly at Maine, has left regular status and gone to substitute status. And they have hired a lady named Amara Evans to replace her. And I am currently interviewing my employee, Caitlin Pozzo, was offered a full-time position at her second job at the Montessori school, and she elected to take that. We are ordering more bins and carts to accommodate the now 5-day quarantine. Things that were not in the printed report that have happened since I wrote it. I had a number of emails this week from other libraries across the state that as part of the implementation of these Department of Labor and Industry standards, some of the systems are being asked to take the temperatures of all of the customers entering the library and also give them a health questionnaire and log their names.
Wow.
Okay. Weird.
Yikes.
There are issues with that in terms of records retention type stuff. So I am hoping this is not something we will be asked to do. The Department of Labor thing does say medium risk entity should, as feasible, do the daily health checks on the employees, but it does not specify doing them for customers. The County CARES Act budget, they were working on it and it had a very quick due date. Something was mentioned in my department head meeting that there might be an opportunity to get some funding. So I quick typed up a proposal and submitted it. And the draft budget includes about $22,000 for additional ebooks on Overdrive with the shared project with the schools. An additional $3,000 for Hoopla to allow us to offer more borrows during the time that the CARES Act funding is good through December of 20. So it all has to be used by then. Money for additional take-home crafts for both adult and kids, and money for the IT department to put some outdoor Wi-Fi in at each library so that the entire parking lot will be a hotspot instead of just like the 4 spots nearest to the door.
Even at Orange, that entire parking lot will be covered?
Yeah.
That's great.
That way, if, you know, outside of our hours or people who do not want to come in here and sit because they don't, you know, want to take the risk of breathing shared air.
Okay.
It's a risk. Shared air is a risk. They can
Whatever.
in their car.
I share air with my wife all day long.
Yeah, I
So what's your total package for that, your proposal, Katie? I was trying to calculate as you were talking, close to 50, something like that.
It's like $28,000, but
Oh,
you know,
28.
that's good. That's $28,000 we would not otherwise have had.
Yeah. So when will you find out about that? You said it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, to get it, I believe that's also getting voted on Tuesday.
Who's voting
Oh,
out?
the
The supervisors?
Supervisors,
Well,
yeah,
send it forward after they approve it. Got it.
yeah.
So would it help any of us to go to the supervisors meeting and agitate them?
Feel free.
I don't know if
Well,
it's virtual.
I
Well,
don't think
feel
we can-
free, yes, but would it be helpful?
I think it's probably a slam dunk myself.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Can't hear.
We now don't hear you, Katie.
Can't hear you. Yeah. She's got reboot.
Can't hear me. I lost the thing for a while.
Yeah, we know.
Looked like Katie, oh, there she is.
Okay, am I back?
Yeah, did you
Yep,
just
you're
change
back.
the outfit?
I think I'm gonna switch cameras with somebody else.
Well, mine isn't there.
Patricia's is working.
I just went through a Microsoft update and I should know better than doing it late in the during working hours, but I did, you know, like a stupid fool. And as a result, I've gotten all kinds of flack and buzzing and everything else coming off this thing and lost the line. And now I'm back. Anyway,
And thank goodness. Katie, I have a question about the FY21 CERT statistics, which is the first page of your date, your statistics.
Mhm.
The FY21 figures in that first set, it would appear that the numbers you have in there for the COVID months, March, April, May, and June, are not correct. Or am I not
Well, those
reading
would
it
be
right?
in fiscal 20.
But our circulation was not, it was way down those months. What am I missing?
Go a couple pages further, I think.
Well, the COVID months were in fiscal 20. 21 started in July.
Yeah, they appear correct on the 2020. But for example, June 20th on the first page, the data doesn't match the figures for June 20th on the third page. You with me?
I don't
Yeah.
seem to have the 2021 page.
You're looking at June 20, right?
I'm looking at the page that at the top says circulation statistics FY 2021. And then it says at the next line down, July 20th, last year's figures for comparison. FY 21 was July 19th through June 20. But
It's just saying that COVID was March, let's say through June, there it's 20, but yet you don't really see the impact until the July stats.
Right. Yeah,
So something's wrong, I agree.
the stats are correct on the third page, which is the circulation statistics for FY 2020 for March, April, May, June of 2020. But those same dates on the first page have apparently
I see what you're
incorrect.
saying. Yeah.
All right.
It's a very complicated book where we have to copy things from one
They
year
have-
to the other.
June 19.
They have
Right.
they have the 19.
July 19 for that matter, I guess.
Right. But I think so obviously the correct totals for March, April, May, June of 20 are on that third sheet, which is the second set of figures, which compares FY 20 to FY 19. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. On the first page, those figures for March, April, May.
They're
and June
19.
are actually the 19. Okay. Okay.
I probably changed the date and didn't change the number.
All right. You'll still get a paycheck this month, Katie.
Ed? You know, obviously with COVID being closed, we didn't do a whole lot of circulating. Basically, all the circs almost were the stuff, and any of the physical items, those were staff circs because we were the only people in here checking out anything.
Anything else?
We decided basically that we're going to raise your salary up to what we're making on this whole job.
Katie, anything else you want to add under your report?
We actually were up over last year as of March. You know, at the end of February, we were actually up over the fiscal year previously.
Right.
And, you know, COVID obviously killed that.
We
So
were headed in the right direction for the growth.
I will say the eCircs, Hoopla tripled. And Overdrive did also go up. I think that some of those gains in the eCircs will stay with us going forward, that some people have decided that, hey, that's pretty cool, I like that, and they're going to keep using it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, can we move now to the policy? I guess we can.
Yep.
You ready for that, Katie?
I'm just finding my pages.
The first is the posting of community information. The only thing I saw, and Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, it was reworded for clarity, not substance, is the note that I made.
Yeah, we did, in the last sentence, we changed, rather than just saying promoting library programs or support groups, we added library partners, because we have been starting to work with other agencies in the community. And if we want to put up a poster to advertise a joint program with a partner agency, we don't want our policy to say we can't.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
I was
Go ahead.
just going to say there, we also changed the complaint process a little bit.
Right, to library, the branch manager.
Right.
I have a question for you and Patricia. Do you ever get requests from groups to put up like a bucket to donate to some kid's kidney fund or things like that?
There is an anti-solicitation policy at the very beginning of our policy manual. So
That would
don't
cover
need
that. Okay. Okay.
It's only, you know, basically the Friends or the Library Foundation and nobody else.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions about the proposed change in the policy for posting of community information? Can I get a motion to accept the revision?
I move that the revisions be accepted as they are.
And John makes the motion. A second.
I'll second it.
Don seconds. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the revised policy on posting of community information, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion passes. The next one is the photocopier. And it looks to me like the only change of note was that you deleted a separate charge for 11 by 17 paper.
The vending units on our copiers were unable to charge that. So it was kind of silly to have it there if we can't actually execute it.
Is that
Also,
the only?
the original one said they could only pay by check if they made a large quantity of copies rather than I didn't see the point. If you want to make 10 copies and pay by a check, why is that different than making 50 copies and paying by
Right.
check?
Right.
So,
You're still gonna process a check. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the photocopier changes? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the proposed changes in the policy on the photocopier.
I move we accept the proposed changes.
Tina makes the motion, a second.
I'll second it.
Beth beat you to it, John, sorry. You gotta be a little quicker. It's like when the coach told you about executing your jump shot.
Oh, you didn't have to tell me how to do that.
You get set and you fire, you don't wait, okay. So we have a motion and a motion to accept and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the proposed changes to the policy on the photocopier, please say aye.
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 With more enthusiasm, please.
Aye.
Thank you, John. And
If
opposed?
I heard my
say no.
horn, I'd beat my horn or something like, yeah, whatever.
Passes. Now we move to the library meeting room usage policy. And Katie, why don't you just walk us through the changes there, and then we'll ask our questions if we have any.
okay. Basically, these are housekeeping items. The policy had, we update our 5-year plan every 5 years. And the policy had the 2013 mission statement in it, not the 2018 mission statement. So that was one update. And basically, other than that, the two changes are that we added after hours access at the main library will only be provided by arrangement with the extension office, because we do not have a way to issue keys or access to the building after hours here. But extension has a key panel on the outside door that they can provide the code to for groups. We share the meeting room at Main with extension, and they have jurisdiction over it in the evenings anyway, but it wasn't specifically mentioned in our policy. The other thing is the very last sentence, item 12, that meetings must be conducted so as not to interfere with the operations of the library and under the auspices of an organization. And we added or individual. We do have a lot of individual people who request to use the meeting room for quiet study or because they want to do a Skype call or a Zoom meeting somewhere where they're not going to bother other people in the library. And we allow that if the meeting room is not otherwise reserved for a group. So we needed to account for that too.
Right.
I have a question. Who has responsibility to keep the little kitchenette clean at Main? And does, I know when I worked, there was always stuff in that little kitchenette. I don't know if the meeting room at Lake of the Woods has a little kitchen part. There's only really a counter in Gordonsville. I don't think I guess there's a little half fridge under there, but my main concern is the kitchen in Maine, because I know, so whose responsibility is that?
Supposedly anybody who uses the room.
Well, I wonder if I know you have the word room. I didn't know if there needed to be any verbiage regarding the kitchen, just to be sure that it was left clean and spotless, and who provides the cleaners and just that kind of stuff. Or if it's not an issue, then just ignore what I just said.
I don't think that it has been recently, and when it was generally an issue related to employees parking their lunches in there and not throwing them away kind of stuff. Things growing, science experiments in the refrigerator. For a period of time, that kitchen was locked and they had to specify in their reservation if they needed access to it.
Mhm.
We use it for staff day, and occasionally when we do senior staff meetings, I might bring in a breakfast casserole or something. And so occasionally I'll put something in there for that, but most
Well, I
groups
was thinking
don't.
outside groups,
Yeah.
mainly. Well, so I guess my suggestion would just be, somewhere including the kitchenette or whatever, just for clarity.
Yeah, I mean, it does say room must be returned to its original condition at the conclusion of the program.
Yeah.
I guess
Well, and
add it there.
Katie, in the fourth paragraph, beginning with the meeting rooms. Okay. You there?
The may not be used for purposes of profit, that one.
Yeah. The second line near the end, you need to strike the FOR. I think. Yeah, except by library support groups. I stumbled over that.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. On
Yeah,
the
I think
second-
it said for, I don't know. We probably were tweaking the verbiage a little.
I think so. And just, this is a minor point. On the second page, number 8, fees to cover the cost of instructional materials are allowed. And you don't even have to respond to this, but consider moving it to that same paragraph, to the end of that same paragraph we were just discussing. It's a very minor point. It could stay where it is. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about
I thought of
this?
something. Is there any AV equipment in the meeting room? No.
Only the ginormous TVs with their
Okay.
attached video players. We no longer have the overhead projector or the film strip projector or the film projector. Those are gone.
Okay. Does there need to be anything in here on using AV equipment? I'm just curious. I mean, the TV.
There is, number 3 begins, the library will not assume responsibility for damage to materials or equipment used in the meeting room.
Okay.
That implies that they're responsible. Yeah, users are responsible for damage to library-owned equipment and furnishing. Do we own those things you mentioned, Katie, or do they belong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
If you want a statement about we don't provide technical assistance in how to use it, we try to if we can. I have called IT department for customers that we're trying to do webinars on the big TV or do other things, but
I'm just bringing it up because there is, but if this statement covers all the possibilities, then, that's fine.
Anybody else have a question or comment about the proposed changes in this policy? I'll entertain a motion to accept the changes. Don moves.
Yep.
A second? I'll second. I beat you to it. Dave seconds. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the changes to the policy on library meeting room usage, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion passes. And then finally, the policy changes for in-library viewing / listening policy. I saw a couple of changes in addition to the bolding. Katie, why don't you walk us through this one too?
Yeah, this is an older policy that was written for, we used to have a TV in each library that customers could play movies on, and it had a CD player attached to it so they could preview and listen to the music. Because back in the day, those things didn't work on our computers. We got rid of those units, and the computers now have the function to play video and audio. The policy remained because occasionally there are issues with one customer being upset about what another customer has up on their screen. Or what another customer has blaring out of their headphones at extreme volume. So it's kind of there to give the staff a tool to be able to address those things if they crop up. Because basically this is a policy saying, hey, please be nice. Know that there are kids here. Know that we may ask you to turn the volume down.
We're getting ready to close, so I'm going to tap out.
Okay, thanks for participating.
Good to see you,
You're welcome.
Krista.
And thanks for your input. Yeah, an editorial thing, Katie. Line 3, the beginning users are asked.
Did we lose Kate?
No, Katie, you with me?
Mhm.
Okay. I think that wording users are asked is redundant, given the patrons using the library beginning. I suggest you strike users are asked, but go back and read it afterwards and see if you agree. If not, just leave it.
Okay.
Also, editorially, I do encourage this one to be made. The third paragraph, I think at the end of that first sentence, for statistical and security purposes, should be at the beginning of the sentence. Otherwise, it sounds like people are using them in the library for statistical and security purposes. That's for our purposes, right?
Yeah, it hardly ever happens anymore nowadays.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time somebody asked me to unlock a DVD so they could put it in a computer and watch it.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
Okay. Well, again,
They're
editorially,
probably
I think,
watching it on Netflix now. You know, it's,
yeah, I think that last phrase, that prepositional phrase, should be at the beginning of the sentence. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the proposed revisions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the changes in the policy on in-library viewing / listening, please, I'll ask for a motion. Yeah, I need a motion. If there's no more discussion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
That was Beth.
Mhm.
A second.
I'll second it.
John, you win this time. John, second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the revisions to the policy on in-library viewing / listening, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion passes, and we've completed the consideration of the proposed policy changes. We move now to the approval of the minutes. You have 3 sets of minutes that were sent in your package. The agenda only refers to 2 of them. I hope you've had a chance to look at them, but at this point, does anybody have any questions or comments about these meetings, the February 20th was our last regular in-person meeting. March 17th is when some of us were in the kitchen in the library in Orange, and a few of us were on the telephone. And that's when we decided to close. Then May 20th was a special session held via Zoom, wherein we discussed reopening primarily. We also had the election of officers at that meeting. What I'd like to do is entertain a motion to accept all three sets of minutes. Do I hear such a motion?
I move.
Tina moves and John seconds.
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes from those three meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed, say no. The minutes have been accepted. So we'll move to, and we're doing really well in terms of time. And at the end, I want to come back to anything else that Katie would like to talk about and that any of you would like to bring up as well. But this is the chairman's report, comments, announcements. First is future meetings, location / guest / staff presentation. And in terms of location, I think we're simply on hold. We had originally intended to have this meeting in person. A request was remade given the current and continuing situation with the virus, and given the fact that a few of us at least are up in years, that sorry, Don, that that we meet virtually, and we may want to do that again. October. We may want to meet this way again in October. I'm guessing the situation isn't going to be much better. So if there's no problem with that, we'll just deal with that as it comes, holding out the possibility for going via Zoom again. I think given the nature of our situation, and especially the amount of time we may be devoted in future meetings this year and next to the operational situation, that unless there's a special request that we not do as we were trying to do way back when, to have maybe a special guest at each meeting, unless we can get Ted Voorhees to participate, because he said he'd like to. Maybe not doing the staff presentations where each month Peggy and I had agreed, and you remember the first one and the only one was Terry talking about cataloging, where a staff member comes in from one of the branches and talks about something that he or she is working on, or a special project he or she is responsible for, something like that, to make us better aware of what's going on in the library. I suggest that we just kind of hold on those for the time being. I would note, unless I read it and I reread it, I think the supervisors are now meeting in person. Is that your understanding, Katie?
I know they had originally said they were going to in August. I'm not sure.
Because I get the agendas, and the previous agendas made it very clear to the public that this meeting was being held via Zoom. And in order to offer comments, you had to do this and that. And this one, I checked carefully and there was no mention of Zoom. So I assume they're going to meet in person. I think it's something like the 25th. Next
Tuesday.
Just FYI, the board of supervisors apparently is resuming to meet in person. Does anybody have any comment about any of this stuff regarding our meetings?
Never kind of implies that our next meeting should be in person also, or could be in person also.
Theoretically, it could be. It depends on the situation and the comfort level of our members as well.
Okay,
that's
good.
As was the case with this meeting, I'd rather err on the side of trustee concern about getting together physically and have these sessions via Zoom. Anybody else? Any comments on our meeting format,
I
structure?
agree with you. Why go that same route to have, you know, somebody's going to be concerned.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned. I may float the idea of getting together, but I might not. Some time ago, I raised the idea of providing some kind of recognition to the staff for what they've done, what they're continuing to do, including the risks they continue to take in arriving to work each day and interacting with each other and with the public. And that never really got any traction. I bring it up again with no goal in sight, no suggestion, but to see if any of you have thoughts about that at this point in terms of should we do something? And if so, in what manner, including Katie, any new thoughts you have on this? Any of you want?
I sent you an email basically with my suggestions. Did you get it? I guess that's the first question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remind us what you said.
Essentially, I'm saying it depends on, you know, whether they're full-time or part-time. Because I don't remember, it was a good month ago. And I was kind of in favor of a small party of some sort, maybe, you know, instead of a break in the afternoon or before one went home, maybe even sandwiches or something like that for dinner. You know, I love to kind of open into this to what it would be, but it would be a celebration in honor of their work, whatever that is.
Yeah, and I like the idea. I've always liked the idea in the workplace of gathering people together to celebrate their successes. We have some impediments there in that we have 3 locations. Probable, based on my familiarity with the staff to date, some hesitancy to have to go to another location to do something, and the different hours that people work. Not everybody works in the libraries every day. So
I have an idea. How about whenever the next staff development day is, that we do some recognition that's presented, you know, by the trustees. I don't know what the parameters are, but that's when, I know not everybody is at staff development day, but most of the staff is. The libraries are closed that day, right? So to me, whenever those happen again, maybe we could have some recognition on that day.
Yeah, maybe even a free coffee and cookies or something like that. You know, something minor
Well,
like
Katie
that.
pays for lunch. I mean, you get lunch for staff on
Well,
that.
Yeah, we
day.
bring in donuts and coffee and lunch.
And you have a nice lunch and all. I was just thinking
Okay.
that would be a time when everybody's together with their cohorts, and you know, that might.
do
I
door
think we can
prizes.
put it on hold right at the moment, but once that starts again, we should maybe put some parameters around it and, you know, work from that point.
I did ask the staff here, the part-time staff, and we also talked about it in our senior staff Zoom meeting about, you know, what they thought staff members would appreciate. And right now it was basically stuff like book-themed face masks, safety tools that you can use to open doors and punch the buttons on the gas pumps, small bottles of hand sanitizer, necklace pens that they could wear so they could have their own pen that no one else touches, that sort of thing. And candy bars.
Well, Gina certainly makes a good point in that there is an opportunity. There is annually an opportunity to catch all the employees at one time. And some of us have participated in some of those events, at least at the beginning. But when's that going to happen again? It's a rhetorical question, but I'm guessing
Not in the next 6 months.
next 3 years. Yeah. Here's a thought I had. It's not much but it's something. What if we, the trustees, I would draft it and send it out to all of you for comment. What if we drafted a letter to the staff in general? It could be personalized, person by person. And basically where we just say, thank you. We know what you've been through. We know this has been difficult. We know that the situation keeps changing, but your adaptation and your for lack of a better word at the moment, loyalty and continuing to support our mission is very much appreciated by the Board of Trustees. It's something.
Or how about a letter to the editor, to the Orange County Review, as a public acknowledgement of, you know, the libraries are opening, curbside serving the public.
Right. That's a
expanding their digital collection.
great idea.
Yeah,
Katie?
I think both ideas make sense.
Katie,
I agree. A letter of appreciation almost would be really spot on, I think.
my only concern with that is, even though I'm suggesting it, is Katie, I'm concerned that the employees might get that and say, this is it? This is all we get is a letter? What do you think?
Yeah, possibly.
I mean,
On the other hand, they've never gotten that before, so.
Well, and they want tools for the trade. I mean, they want tools that they can use at work and in their personal life. So they want stuff.
Bookmarks. Have a bookmark.
Well, you know, a pen on the, you know, on a lanyard. I mean, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and they're,
No, I was
they're
joking.
like
Don't
$2.50.
take me
So
Like John, let John Fry
So how about,
repeat what he just said. Okay, go ahead, John.
All I said was an individual, you mentioned one would go out to each individual, and I just want to say that that's not a bad thing for somebody's resume. You know, cash, obviously. I don't know, I've always appreciated those things myself, and I didn't ask, I wonder where the money is, you know? I mean, that's kind of a strange reaction.
Okay, Katie, you haven't had time to think about this, but just your gut reaction to, would this be a net plus or a net minus to do something like this? The individualized letter to each employee.
well, I don't think it could possibly be a minus. I think some employees probably will appreciate that more than others. You know, everybody is motivated differently.
could that be coupled with a care package with some of the items that you mentioned? We
Well,
care.
I totally agree that it should go to
If
the
you have
newspaper.
some funding,
No, if it goes to the newspaper, I think that's plenty. It's more than enough.
Don, what's your comment?
Go to the newspaper in addition to all the individual
Yeah.
letters.
Right.
Well, I said it at the beginning, I said both would seem appropriate.
Yeah, I like both ideas, and we'll get back to
And
the,
of course, I guess if a letter of appreciation doesn't come without a check, that's out.
yeah. Well, how about if we do that? How about if I draft a letter, it'll be short, and I'll send it to all of you and Katie, which is all of you that are, I won't send it to you, Andrew. I'll send it to all of you and Katie, and we'll work it over days till we get it to where everybody's comfortable with it. And then I can make copies, individual copies, where the name of each employee is, I might even do it by hand. Dear Lee, dear Bob, etc., and sign it, Dave Kraus, on behalf of the Orange County Board of Library Trustees, and then put that in an envelope with their name handwritten or typed on the envelope. And then I could take each batch to each library for the manager to pass out. How does that sound? What do you think?
Sounds totally reasonable, but also don't forget that you're gonna have to have a letter which basically includes all the names to send to the newspapers, I think.
Right. And I want to get back to that, but step one would be the idea of this letter. Do any of the trustees have a problem with that or see it as not the way to?
It's a form letter.
Yeah, John's supportive.
I've lost my enthusiasm a little bit.
Maybe you're just hungry. It's getting close to dinner time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's no downside to it. I think some employees might look at it and say it's a form letter, that their name is handwritten on it. I think that's what you're describing.
Can't individualize them. I mean, the message is the same to all the employees.
Right, and you're dear, and then you write their name, and it's,
You might add the specific library you're talking about too. Well, that makes it a little less than a form letter.
Say again.
Add the particular library you're talking about, or the branch rather. It makes it less form letter.
Okay. Katie, any more thoughts from you on that?
Well, this is you guys' thing that you want to do. So,
do you have any money to buy any of those little the care items that you mentioned that they are interested in? The pen, the whatever for the gas pump, or do you have a fund that we could, make little care packages for the employees to go with the letter?
I think we could probably, take that out of like our normal kind of office supply money. Normally, we would use some of that to do things for staff day, which we're not going to do because we're not going to have it.
Right.
Then I think
We
that
do like
would
door
be
prizes and candy and stuff.
right. I think that would go very nicely with the letter because that's what they're
Okay.
asking.
Well, I'll draft something and send it out to everybody. We don't need to be in a rush, but the sooner the better that we get this in the hands of people. Tina, would you take a shot at a letter to the editor?
Sure, but I'm gonna yeah, and I will send it. I'll send it out.
Okay.
Not,
At your
But
convenience.
I'm not gonna put every person's name in there.
I don't think they would want it. I don't.
No.
It's a letter to the editor. It's addressed to the editor, and it's signed by the
Us,
Orange County Board of Library Trustees.
right?
And it's that it doesn't need to be any personalization, I would say, in that case.
Right.
There doesn't need to be, you're absolutely correct. However, people do love to see their name in the paper.
Some do, some don't.
True.
That's right.
If this were the federal government and I were a manager, I'd be getting funds for some kind of award to these people for their working under difficult conditions. But we don't have, the trustees don't have a budget. I'm not even sure. I've even thought about, well, maybe we'd each be willing to contribute an amount of money. I'm not even sure though that if we did that would be appropriate or legal. What do you think, Katie? I mean, and I don't know how we would convert that cash into something culpable for the staff members.
I don't know if it's legal or not. They're certainly welcome to 10% of my salary.
Yeah, we're gonna tithe.
Yeah. I did get a suggestion from one of the branches for Starbucks gift cards.
John suggested we could each make a contribution to the libraries on behalf of the, as a recognition to the employees. Katie, anything else on this idea?
No, I basically got the feedback that, you know, some kind of practical stuff, and if there could be an assortment of it that, you know, they could pick what they wanted out of that, that would make them happy. So.
Well, at least they'll know what we're thinking about. See how this goes. This is a reminder. We agreed some meetings ago, actually it was prior to the, or at the February meeting, that each of us would take responsibility for sending to our respective supervisors highlights of our library board meetings. I'd like to continue doing that. And arguably now it's even more important than it was before, given the situation. So I think what I did last time was I drafted those highlights and sent them to each of you and gave you the freedom to alter them as you saw fit, but in some way, shape, or form, get them to your supervisor and as just as a report on here's what's been happening and here's what we decided at our last meeting. So if there's no objection, I'll get that out to you again following this meeting.
There's no objection, and as the guy at large, basically, I'm sitting there saying, okay, sounds good to me. Yeah,
You're off the hook, I guess, on that.
yeah, that's what I was figuring.
You can come over and wash and wax my car.
Yeah, right.
The last thing I have under my heading on the agenda is simply to ask you all trustees to be as assiduous as you can be in checking email, if not daily, at least multiple times a week. So that, and this is not to humor me or to feed my ego, at least I don't think that's it. It's to stay apprised of new developments, especially as we head through this difficult time. And also a special request to read the whole thing. And if I ask you to respond regarding some aspect of it, to give me that feedback. And to include, if I ask you to just confirm that you've read the email, you've got the information. Okay. So that would really be helpful and would really save a bit of time on my end in terms of getting us to move forward and getting us ready for these meetings. An example is the email I sent yesterday or the day before with the information for connecting to the Zoom session with a request, please just email me back quickly that you got it. I heard from one person. So I had to call people this morning to make sure everybody was on board with the Zoom meeting. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I'd really appreciate it if you.
I'll do better, Dave.
Well, I'm not looking for any confessions, but thank you, John. And I think it's for the best. If it would be great if all of us could have all of the information and knowledge that Katie shares with me multiple times a week, at least via email, and at least once a week with a phone call. So you know what's going on. And so as I said, if we have to make some quick decisions at an emergency meeting, your ramp up time is lessened. Anybody have a comment on that? Anything you'd like to add to that, or anything else for the good of the order? We've managed to get through the agenda in a timely way. Thank you very much for that. And Katie, anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay. No is acceptable. We will meet again in some manner, at least in October. That date is the 15th, and stay tuned for how we do that. And don't be surprised if we're gonna have to get together in an emergency fashion between now and then, depending upon how things go. I think we have a pretty good basis now for understanding what might happen, what might lead to that. I thank Katie for explaining that well. And if there's no objection, I will consider the meeting to be in adjournment. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned at 5:45. And thank you all again for being able to be here today. Joan, thanks in particular for adjusting your situation so you could participate.
Yeah.
You all
Good to
look
see
great
everybody.
on television.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dave. Doing a great job, man. Katie?
Thank you, John. Glad we could get you hooked up here. All right.
All right. Bye.
And
Take
thank
care.
you.
Good job, Katie.
Everybody.